Welcome to the Explainer. So recently, Uzbekistan's national football team, the White Wolves, did something absolutely historic. They qualified for the 2026 World Cup. It's literally their first time ever making it to football's biggest tournament. And as you can imagine, it has sparked this massive wave of pride across the entire country. But here's the thing. As we're going to explore today, this big breakthrough on the pitch, it's intimately connected to a much larger, incredibly dense playbook of reforms happening off the pitch.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because this sports achievement is really just the tip of the iceberg. As observers have noted, this qualification is a highly visible symbol of the country's growing international profile. Underneath the surface of this World Cup debut, there is a nation actively rewriting its own administrative, legal, and economic frameworks. People are viewing this football victory as a real indicator of much deeper national changes, and honestly, shifting dynamics in Central Asia as a whole. I mean, this didn't just happen by accident, right? The success you see on the pitch is the direct result of years of off-the-pitch investments. We're looking at a targeted combination of youth development, the rapid construction of modern sports infrastructure, and most importantly, sweeping national reforms. So to really understand how Uzbekistan is stepping onto the global stage right now, we need to actually look at the blueprint driving these national reforms.
Section 1, the 2022 to 2026 Development Strategy.
Now, moving from that visible sports victory, we find this incredibly dense structural policy document acting as the nation's new playbook. What's really interesting here is seeing the actual document that lays out 7 massive sweeping goals for the state's transformation. It ranges from building a people's state to pursuing a new foreign policy, establishing the rule of law, developing a robust national economy, and pursuing human capital development. It's a highly ambitious, comprehensive framework for sure. Today, we're going to unpack some of the most critical stated goals within this strategy to understand exactly how the country is attempting to modernize.
Section 2, Empowering Local Communities.
You know, just like a strong football team relies on grassroots youth development, this public administration strategy starts at the very local community level with something called the mahalla. Now, a mahalla is a localized citizen self-governance entity. The development strategy explicitly states its intention to improve the efficiency of this institution, basically turning the mahalla into a vital instrument of public administration and oversight. It's literally the foundational building block of their entire civic strategy.
And the state's specific stated goals for these communities are incredibly granular. Beyond just digitizing administrative processes so citizens can easily communicate directly with government agencies, they're actually training local chairpersons in super practical skills, think microfarming, land management, even poultry farming. The whole idea is to turn these neighborhoods into self-sufficient hubs of entrepreneurship based on their own unique local growth points.
Section 3, Building a Digital State. Let's move to how this builds into modernizing the bureaucratic infrastructure, because this is where the strategy really hits daily life. We all know the absolute pain of dragging physical folders of documents around just to prove who we are. Well, the strategy aims to completely eliminate that friction by introducing digital citizen passports and a mobile ID system. It represents a planned total elimination of those everyday bureaucratic headaches for the average citizen.
To put a metric on this ambition, they have set a target of a full 100% for e-government services. That's huge. The goal here is to establish a practice where citizens are issued time-bound, factual documents and composite public services automatically, without even needing to wait for an application to process. And it's not just about citizen convenience either. It's about upgrading to a fully smart state. They're planning a launch of over 40 analytical geoportals. These will act as digital hubs designed to summarize vast amounts of regional data regarding transport, infrastructure, and social spheres. This is going to allow local governments to make highly informed, data-driven decisions. To actually execute all this, the strategy provides a literal step-by-step roadmap for decentralization under Goal 6. Step 1 is digitizing those public services, like we just discussed. Step 2 is really fascinating. The state plans to transfer 20% of those public services directly over to the private sector. And Step 3 is the continued expansion of public-private partnerships. This is all designed to optimize how the state actually works on a day-to-day basis.
Section 4, Rule of Law.
Of course, you can't uphold massive digital and community changes without strict adherence to civil rights. And that brings us to Goal 4, which establishes a really fundamental framing. The state remains people's servant. The document explicitly mandates the orientation of all ministries and departments to serve citizens based on this exact ethic. It's the stated foundational principle for how the government expects its civil servants to operate.
Drilling down, we see this isn't just abstract philosophy. The strategy outlines strengthening the inviolability of private property and stepping back state interference. They're applying a smart regulation model to basically let the economy breathe. At the same time, they're building a national personnel reserve to ensure the people actually leading these new frameworks in local governments and ministries are highly qualified candidates. Again, we're just reporting on the text here, but it outlines a very comprehensive civil framework.
But as we know, a strategy is really only as good as its oversight. And here's a wild number. By planning a massive 7-fold funding increase for nonprofits and civil society institutions, the state is actively financing the very organizations meant to hold it accountable. This indicates a significant stated commitment to elevating social partnerships and boosting the socio-political activities of the population.
Section 5. A confident Central Asia.
Bringing this all full circle, we really have to remember how a World Cup debut acts as a powerful soft power tool. With millions expected to tune in, the tournament offers this massive global stage. It introduces Central Asia's development, its rich culture, and its modern aspirations to a worldwide audience that, honestly, might otherwise never pay attention to the dense internal administrative reforms we just unpacked.
Researchers point out that Uzbekistan's rise is happening amid a broader period of increasing regional cooperation. We're seeing improved relations between neighboring countries, expanding economic ties, and greater political stability. This combination of internal structural reform, like empowering the Mahala and building a digital state, paired with external regional cooperation, creates the fertile conditions necessary for progress, both on and off the pitch.
Which leaves us with this final thought. We've looked at the White Wolves achieving historic success in sports, and we've unpacked the dense, ambitious playbook guiding the state's internal transformation over the next few years. So the big question now is, how will regional stability and this sweeping structural reform impact Central Asia's role on the global stage? Will the execution of this strategy actually match the ambition of its text? It's a fascinating region to watch, and the coming years will undoubtedly provide the answer. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.